All right, and we are now officially recording.
Hello.
Hello, and welcome to my second Zoom Facebook Live interview. And I am new to this, but I am slowly learning, and I'm certainly enjoying myself as I talk to wonderful, engaging people, and so they can share their stories. I have with us now Mr. Russel Hill. And for those of you who don't know who I am, I'm Simon Deacon. I work and live in New York City. I'm a professional holistic energy healer, vortex healer, certified Reiki master, and intuitive counselor. Who also on the boards of Beyond Being Human, which is a wonderful metaphysical and holistic organization where spiritual teachers and mediums and other energy healers get to talk together. And I've been given this wonderful assignment of learning how to be an interviewer. And so now I introduce to you Mr. Russel Hill, who is a very dear friend of mine. We have known each other since 2012. We first met at the Mayan Elder event. Those remember the December 21st, 2012 Mayan Elder Return of Quetzalcoatl, big Quetzalcoatl Mayan Elder calendar event that happened, of a big, huge spiritual shift. That's when we met. That's probably wasn't a coincidence that we met during that spiritual shift. And he has been a very dear friend of mine and a true inspiration for what he has been through and is now working, and his contribution to the community. He is a meditation teacher, meditation specialists, that works with people with developmental disabilities at JobPath New York City, NYC. He works at the Intrepid Museum. He has a third degree black belt in jiu-jitsu from the Kokushi Budo Judo dojo, the Kokushi Budo dojo. He also is a yellow belt in judo and aikido, a green belt in karate, and also a bachelor's in psychology from the City College of Manhattan. And welcome, Russell. Can you please, what we are talking about today is definitely your path with the issue of neurodivergence and neurodivergent people. This is what we have in common, like in terms of my own neurodivergence, because I have ADHD, and you right now are deal with your own issues of autism. So would you like to share your story and what you've gone through and accomplished and overcome in terms of this personal story of yours?
So, I mean, as a young child, I had some physical issues. I had trouble balancing. I had trouble writing. I had some difficulties with various school subjects. I also had body spatial issues, where I had a very bad time. I had a hard time being aware of my body and space around me. And I was sent to special needs school in preschool. I remember I always had a connection to spirit, but my spiritual practice began when I was 8 years old, when my dad did a headstand at show and tell, and they questioned him and he explained the benefits of yoga, and they actually hired a yoga teacher for the special needs school, which was really helpful for my issues and my difficulties. And I also found peace through my dad's meditation tapes at that time.
And would you say yoga was your first way to learn how to heal and realign yourself physically and heal those physical challenges?
Yeah.
Like, can you share a little bit about how that yoga helped you?
Well, I think, I was young and very flexible at the time, and I think it was just, being still in a pose and breathing, sort of the combination of stretching and moving, but also learning to be still. Learning stillness helped me to relax, and that in turn brought awareness and also serenity.
Very nice. And you have gone through your personal hardships in terms of expectations of what maybe your parents or teachers expected of you. And from what you've told me, you have definitely overcome so much. Would you like to share the expectations of what you overcome?
Well, like some of the professors in high school thought I should be in a group. Some of the teachers in high school thought I should be in a group home. Others thought, well, give him a chance at community college. We'll see if he makes it. Probably not. Others were saying, he could work a menial temp job a few hours a week. Just let him do that. And I ended up going to community college, working in the restaurant industry, and then just finding I really wanted to do something more meaningful. And I got my community college degree and then also got my bachelor's in psychology.
Mhm. That's one. And how do you apply that psychology degree to what you're doing now?
Uh, well, I think it gives me a certain sensitivity to, at Job Path, I teach meditation, I do groups with people with autism. And not only do I kind of see a lot of what they're going through and a lot of what they struggle with, but also areas in which they're gifted from the lens of someone who also has autism, but also through my psychology training. It's the City College of New York.
Okay.
I have insight. I was also the head of the accessibility club, and I was a big advocate for accessibility at City College. So I worked with people with all sorts of disabilities, and I actually fought to get an accessoride stop at City College, and I also led an assistive technology expo.
Assisted technology, was that in reference to the accessoride, or was that something else?
That was another project. We were showing different technologies that can assist people with disabilities. One of them was a actual VR to help people with autism get more used to the subway. One of them was indoor Google Maps, which could help with blind people. We had technologies from the college itself that allowed people to interact with the college material more accessibly as well.
Okay, and I would, since you have been helping and teaching and guiding younger people with the developmental disabilities, can you share some of your very rewarding stories of how you've helped people?
Yeah. At my job, I think it's because I've had similar issues and I have similar issues, and I've learned to believe in myself. It allows me to believe in some people who maybe haven't gone as far in achieving their goals. And I think I've been a voice of support and believing in people. And I think that's been very encouraging. And for the people I work with, I've also always been very motivational, and people who went through school with me, I would stick up for them at times. I would advocate for them at times because I developed a skill in advocacy, and I would even help them figure out how to advocate for themselves. Now, a lot of the people I grew up with actually achieved a lot themselves, and I think we were always watching each other overcome the stigma and overcome the destiny that was projected on us, and we inspired each other.
Wonderful. And that could definitely mean that you saw people who were being underestimated like you were, and you helped them get a step up to to expanding they're expanding their world and expanding their opportunities and possibilities.
Yes, very much so.
Wonderful. And okay, you say that the stigmas of people with these developmental disabilities and autism still exist. Can you share what people with autism are still struggling with right now?
Well, I think a lot of people see people with autism as being less capable, maybe sporadic in a way, strange. And I think part of what's happening now with the neurodivergence and neurodiversity is we're starting to see people with autism as people who can do what anyone else can do. And we're starting to see companies like Microsoft hiring people with autism to do high paid professional work. And I think, I have a friend who's actually working at Microsoft who has autism, and he's just bought a house. So, yeah.
That's wonderful. Okay, so I would assume that in the past, sometimes such great opportunities, the job opportunities, weren't accessible in terms of that prejudice, and now that's kind of more changed now. Have you been seeing that
starting to change? Some companies like Microsoft, but it's still much harder for someone with autism to, the statistics are just people with autism are just much less likely to find work at the moment. It used to be, it was even worse, like just these horrible institutions. I remember learning at work of a place called Willowbrook, where people were just naked and there were feces everywhere, and people weren't being taken care of. And I looked it up today to just review what happened, and they were actually saying that a lot of the people who were in Willowbrook are in group homes now, and they're being mistreated. They're finding bruises that, the reporters are finding bruises on them. And there's still a lot of organizations that are just behind in how they deal with autism.
these institutions, there are some institutions that get under the wire of
a lot of group homes. There's a lot of abuse going on.
Have you done any advocacy in terms of that?
Well, I've spoken up for people I'm growing up with to not go to group homes and to actually go to college and try the work world.
And so you know people who've been to these group homes. You've heard their stories.
I know people who were thinking about it, and I also know people that are in assisted living situations that are actually positive. And I have a friend who's in a mixed situation, and I'm advocating actually right now for them to retrieve him from the mixed situation and just wait to get with a better organization and have an actual positive situation, because he's actually sharing a room with like 3 other people. And I just don't think that's right. That, it's very hard on him. And I think they should wait till they can get him an assisted living at a better organization but also some of the people that work there are nice. It's not a terrible place, but it's also not ideal. And I have other friends who are in assisted living, or I guess you could call it a group home, but who are actually happy and working and living good lives.
Very, very cool. Now, you did go to a high school with with the high school with people with developmental disabilities. You've made a lot of friends there. I've met these friends. Could you share your experience with that particular high school?
Yeah, it was a hit or miss. Some students, it was a really good experience, but other students really had it hard. And in fact, I was actually just thinking about one student who was trans, and she just had had it really, really hard. This, just really hard. And the school just was sort of tolerating abuse from some of the other kids to her. And it was just heartbreaking seeing what the school is allowing and treatment towards her without taking real action. I remember a lot of the students would be able to get away with like a lot, like partying and drinking and smoking. And then me, since they were more cautious of me, I wasn't as popular with a lot of the teachers. I couldn't even hug a girl for too long. Like there's this woman, a girl in my class who liked to hug me a lot, and they were like, no, don't. They were afraid of it in a way. And she just liked to hug me a lot, like, and they didn't like that. Meanwhile, other kids were, drinking and partying and doing a lot more than hugging, and it was all cool. So
Yeah, but
there's definitely a lot of bias and favoritism. To their credit, there were some teachers that were pretty awesome, and they really helped me academically a lot. And then not to their credit, they would actually influence the psychiatrists on medication, and a lot of the students were very over medicated.
And do you have a sense of like that at special needs school? Do you have a sense of special needs schools in general, and how where you think they are in terms of do they need more help? Do they need more support? Have you seen this?
Well, I worked in a public school, and I work with special needs students, and I think that what people are trying to do now, at least in a lot of cases, is they put the special needs kids with the mainstream students, and it definitely leads to a more inclusive attitude.
Great.
But I do see some teachers seeing the special needs as almost more difficult or more troublesome. And that's not fair to the special needs kids. But I think it's also nice that, kids now are growing up with someone in their class who's in a wheelchair, or someone who's a class in autism, and it kind of breaks stigma and it allows a more healthy perception.
That's wonderful. And where do you think, where is the strongest place for improvement?
I think there's especially in the clinical world, the clinical side, there's a strong impulse to put very young kids on medication. And while I don't agree to the other extreme where people are telling people to get off their meds, which I just think is horrible, I think maybe more should be tried before you put a kid on medication. I see a lot of kids really dopey and maybe who could use the medication, maybe just be on a smaller amount. I think there's too much of a prescribe the pill kind of mentality. And at first we should try to actually get to the root causes rather than attack the symptoms.
Yeah.
And I do think there's a place for medication, and medication can be pretty awesome for a lot of kids, and it can be a real game changer. I just think, and then I just think it's, I think just a lot of kids need an advocate. They need someone who, I had Nico, I had some of my teachers who were advocates. I think a lot of kids just need an advocate, maybe even having a mentor who has autism or who has a similar disability assigned to the kid to speak up for him and to help him grow, him or her, or they.
Or is advocacy becoming more popular, or do you feel that should be pushed more?
Yeah, I think advocacy is at this point, it's for some people, they understand it, but a lot of people, it's just a nice word they use. Oh, he's a good advocate, or, oh, he needs more advocacy. But I don't think I don't think, I think it's something deeper, and it's something that really can be cultivated, and there's a whole world to it. And I think a lot of my friends, and myself included, really got into it in college. They really became good advocates in college. We had CCSD and CUNY Leads, CUNY Coalition for Students with Disabilities. We really got into the advocacy aspect and knowledgeable in college.
But
And I
it's
almost feel like kids should, that we should be, that kids need these, people who know about it to teach them about it, not just be told to advocate by a psychologist, which they don't really know how to yet.
and so you see, has this advocacy become official, like a professional mentorship, or does that need more work?
I think it would be great to be putting, college age or older at people with disabilities to talk about advocacy and to work with grade school and high school and junior high school age students to really talk about, how to stick up for yourself in a professional, helpful way. I think that'd be great. I think mentorship programs is the future. I think people, sometimes we just need, like Nico, he was an advocate for me.
Wonderful. And are you currently advocating on an individual level, on a personal individual level, for anyone right now?
Yeah, I'm trying to advocate for someone who is lower functioning than me, specifically who is in a very mixed, maybe very far from ideal assisted living situation. And I'm trying to get his mom and him to be open to the possibility that there's better out there and that they should start working towards it. And I think they're already looking and considering it right now, actually.
So as you advocate, you are seeing improvement in growth.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Okay. One of the things, like I said, one of the things that inspires me about you, Russell, is how much you've overcome and how your spirituality has been a big part of that. Would you like to share more about your spirituality? And I also know you do, you also have a wonderful affinity with Yoda and the Force.
Yeah.
Even though that's a cool, even though that's a cool sci-fi alignment, it's true. I do believe that the George Lucas added his own wonderful spiritual contribution through the sci-fi of Yoda and the Force. But would you like to share more of your spiritual beliefs?
Well, we actually had a class, a whole lesson plan, and maybe in a future one I can even take it out, which was Bushido, Chi, and Star Wars. So Bushido was the old code of the samurai, and actually the Jedi were inspired a lot by the samurai. And Star Wars was meant to be a spiritual philosophy, have a spiritual philosophy that can be connected to from all religions. And actually, if you look at Shintoism, the Force is kind of similar to Kami, but there's also elements of Qi from China. And it's just meant to be a very universal way to connect. So I've always found very connected to spirituality through Star Wars's take on it. And a lot of people say, oh, my teacher, like, he's like Yoda, or like, oh, Yoda must have been inspired by my teacher's teacher. I saw a photo of him. My teacher was talking about him. Yeah, he was. And people have actually claimed various spiritual masters inspired Yoda. And actually, if you want to be really get into it, Albert Einstein was part of his sort of jolly, he was actually part of Yoda's energy. A lot of the puppetry was based on Albert Einstein.
Yes, And you're also doing your own little Jedi gathering. Please want to share
Yeah, I
if you want to
mean,
get more people to show up at these wonderful gatherings of yours.
yeah, I just think it's a great place where people, I've really built a community where people can kind of discourse things. We have the be the light philosophy, but we also kind of, it's also been kind of a community during the pandemic, but we also talk about Star Wars and just how it kind of inspires us. There's a lot of love for Star Wars in it, but also we've talked about hidden spirituality in other movies and how there's a lot of spirituality in a lot of movies, Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, Matrix. And we had a group where we focused just on that, and people were naming all sorts of things that I didn't even hear of that had movies that had spiritual, wonderful lessons and beauty. And
Wonderful. And in terms of the Force, when do you feel that the Force? When do you feel it the most?
I listen to music.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. Okay. Thank you so much for sharing with us today, Russell. You definitely bring a lot. You are a true inspiration. And okay. And I thank you. And again, I look forward to doing so much more interviews. I'm learning a lot. I'm being sort of like a little bit mentored by myself by a wonderful a man by the name of Mr. Michael Ney, who does the Beyond Being Human organization. Again, is an organization of tremendous metaphysical healers and mediums and spiritual teachers. He is also a very talented documentarian, doing a very challenging documentary on extraterrestrials. I'm diving full in and I'm learning so much. So thank you so much for joining us today, Russell. And I hope to see everyone soon. Blessings to you all.